Going into the From Season 4 finale, the strongest evidence yet says the man in yellow was never the real villain of this show. Why does a being who can shapeshift and kill at will still need a disguise to function? Why does changing a rescue plan by one person throw him off balance? And what does the boy in white finally seem ready to say to his face? Let's break down the evidence stacking up before this finale even airs. Before we get into it, if you're new to the channel, I'd really appreciate it if you considered subscribing. We track every twist in from the moment new information drops, so you're never behind on this show. Okay, let's rebuild how we got here, because the case against the man in yellow being the true threat has been building since the start of this season. Season 3 ended with him stepping out of hiding to kill Jim Matthews in front of his own family, telling Julie directly that she couldn't change the story. Then he vanished again, the way he always does right after taking something from someone who got too close to an answer. Season 4 opens seconds later, and the very first thing he does with that freedom is give it up. He sheds the yellow suit completely and becomes Sophia, a frightened young pastor's daughter who arrives in town after a car crash he caused himself. The real pastor is smothered and killed once he's no longer useful, and right before that happens, Sophia tells him he played an important role in the story. That single choice should have told us everything. A being who can already do anything he wants doesn't need a cover story, unless the cover story is the actual point. For 9 episodes, Sophia walks around as the quiet, harmless newcomer, letting everyone treat her like just another lost arrival, while quietly watching the town tear itself apart exactly the way she told the dying pastor she wanted to. By episode 9, that plan stops being subtle. Boyd finally commits to a real plan, sending Jade and Tabitha into the tunnels to retrieve the Ankui children's bones, with the rest of the group staying above ground to help them out. When Sophia learns the plan has changed to only 2 people going underground instead of the larger group originally expected, she's visibly thrown by it. Not amused, not in control of the moment. Thrown. That reaction matters, because a god doesn't flinch at a change in headcount. Something that depends on a ritual happening a very specific way absolutely would. Episode 9 gives us even more proof of those limits. Elgin finds an old photograph proving Sophia has lived through a previous cycle of this town, under a different face entirely. When he confronts her with it, she doesn't deny it or threaten him with limitless power. She simply explains that she can only take the form of people who have already died in this town. That's not the language of an all-powerful villain. That's the language of something working inside a fixed set of rules it didn't necessarily write for itself. Sophia kills Elgin to protect that secret and sabotages the rope ladder meant to bring Jade and Tabitha back to the surface. And while that's cruel, it's also reactive. She's not executing some flawless master plan. She's patching holes in a structure that keeps almost falling apart on its own. Fatima's deterioration tells a similar story. Her condition has been worsening all season, with her hair falling out and strange marks spreading across her body. And by the end of episode 9, she's somehow back on her feet despite how dire things looked moments earlier. The implication many viewers and outlets following the show closely have landed on is the same one I keep coming back to. She's being pulled into the town's underlying transformation process, the same one that turned grieving parents into creatures generations ago, whether or not the man in yellow is personally directing it in that moment. Now here's where the strongest piece of evidence comes in, and it's something the finale itself appears built to confirm. Reports tracking predictions and possible leaks heading into this episode describe a scene where Sophia leads the boy in white to the faraway tree and tries to provoke him, telling him he isn't as ancient or as powerful as everyone assumed he was. According to that same reporting, the boy in white isn't shaken by that taunt at all. Instead, he tells her plainly that she's going to lose this time. A line that only makes sense if this exact confrontation has happened before, and the outcome wasn't always the same. Sit with that for a second, because if that's accurate, it means the man in yellow isn't an unbeatable force running unopposed. He's one side of a repeating fight he's already lost at least once. I know how this sounds. I know it sounds like I'm just shifting the target instead of actually naming a villain, but look at what we've already confirmed independent of that prediction. He needs Sophia's disguise to move freely, which means his real form has limits. He gets visibly rattled by a plan he didn't author. He can only wear the dead, which means even his power is borrowed from something underneath him, not generated by him alone. Every single thing that's supposed to make him terrifying is also a leash. If he's not the architect, the most likely candidate is the original bargain itself. The deal struck centuries ago that turned grieving parents into monsters and trapped their children's spirits in the dark. That bargain is the thing actually deciding who gets transformed, who gets resurrected, and who gets pulled back into this cycle no matter how far they run. The man in yellow isn't writing those rules. He's its oldest and most devoted enforcer, which is so much colder than one evil entity, because it means even if someone destroyed him completely, the system underneath him would just need a new face to wear. There's one more detail worth sitting with here, tied to the predicted destruction of the bottle tree. Coverage following the trailer has noted that once the tree is removed, the talismans across town reportedly stop working against the creatures at the exact same time. That's not a coincidence if the tree and the talismans were always drawing from the same underlying source. It suggests the entire town's protection has never come from anything the man in yellow personally controls. It comes from something connected to the children themselves, the same thing he's spent this whole series trying to keep buried. So here's exactly where and when we find out how much of this holds up. From Season 4, Episode 10. If a Tree Falls in the Forest releases this Sunday, June 28th, at 9 p.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Pacific on MGM+. It's reportedly running around 90 minutes, which would make it the longest single episode in the show's 4-season history. Season 5 has already been confirmed, with reporting suggesting it likely won't arrive until 2027, which means whatever this finale confirms about who's really in charge of this town has a long runway to play out before we get our final answers. So tell me what you think heading into Sunday. Is the man in yellow about to be exposed as just the enforcer of something much older? Or is the boy in white's confidence about to be proven wrong all over again? Drop your theory in the comments. I want to see your predictions before we all find out together. And if you want the full breakdown the moment the finale actually airs, go ahead and subscribe. I'd really appreciate having you here for it. See you for the finale recap.